Welcome to Europa Station.
Constructed in 1959 in the frontier stretches of Alaska, Europa was a heavily fortified and advanced outpost amidst the otherwise barren expanses. While it has been abandoned for quite some time now, some say that parts of the station still remain operational and have heard stories of what lies dormant within the compound. Entering into the game, I am met with a helicopter pad, and right below it we find 4 paints. Red, blue, yellow, and green, and off to the side we find a poster of a worn propaganda poster. I leave the area of the facility and I am met with the wintry forest here in the snowy Alaska. We find the abandoned Bay Area 3, and there lies an old rocket, unused and rusted, with overtime of how long it has been abandoned. Coming across a locker that is open with a card inside, I quickly pocket it, for I know that the facility needs a card to get inside, and that is where I must go. And I must know the answers as to why the facility still stands, and why it is still operational, even though there's nobody here. I make my way inside, and quickly I am met with an office as what it seems, and the clock reads 2:35 p.m. That is the time currently of the facility that it still stands, and I come across an elevator that doesn't seem to be operational and is out of order. So I must find a way to go upstairs. As you can see, this clock is also 2:35, stating that the time is frozen in 2:35 p.m. I make my way to the storage room, which seems that there's a lot of boxes, and I head to the back, and I'm found with GNC Supply Co. boxes. Considering these boxes are as of recent, this means that someone still resides here in the facility and has asked Gribbly to send over some items from GNC Co. What could possibly be in those boxes, we do not know, or what items have been requested of the person that resides here in the facility, all alone here in Alaska. But we continue on, and I come across some turbines that I can actually unlatch. Now with this option, that means that I do have to run some operational things within this facility to know a little bit more about what is going on here in the middle of Alaska. Then I also find the Europa Forces poster, which seems to be ripped from one side. This very same poster can also be found within Gribbly's on a wall right next to a little clock sign. I come across an old dusty chair with the red key card placed on top of it. I know this will be very useful in the next thing I must do within the next area of this facility, because now I will now be able to unlock a new feature. Within the new area, I find this very high ladder, which then comes across a door, which I cannot unlock. I make my way downstairs instead, and come to find that this is the operational room of this entire facility. This place holds all of the electricity and all of the switches that could turn on just about anything when it's here. I find some few notes that will be coming soon, left by the creator themselves, so that means that I will have to return whenever there is another update. But with the words that we can find on the machines like air defense, it does seem that this facility is going to continue its operations. across a note that tells me not to engage just yet and that the override lock is still in the director's office, so I must make my way downstairs and find director's office in order to unlock this place. Now, I will be skipping over this part because this area is for the later video. After unlocking the override within the director's office, I press the button and this turns on the entire facility back to its normal state. All the electricity is running, the wind turbines on blast, and the machinery is slowly turning on. And with this comes to the next section of having to transfer all of this energy to the areas around. Now this one says launch complex, meaning that we will be launching something within this facility. And what clue could that be was the rocket that we found at the beginning, meaning that there could be one other rocket around here. I leave the main facility and I come across another building within this wintry forest. Here is a communications building which I must go ahead and realign all 3 antennas outside. This will then connect to the transmitter that will hopefully give us a few clues to the next phase. Now, the antenna realignment did take a good couple of minutes, so in here I sped up the video by a good chunk. But then, now with all of them aligned, the transmitter will now be able to operate and give us a few little signals within. But you must listen very closely, for this is to decode. Walking in the forest, I find Bay 2 still standing and seems to be still in very good measure. So I go inside and I try out the code that I had successfully decoded from the transmitter after a little bit of help from a friend. Within the arming bay 2, I find a few switches and some buttons that are placed down, and I come to find out that these will move the rocket out of the arming bay 2. That is why we needed the code in the first place. We can see it now being rolled out into the outside, and for it to now be successfully placed into its area, upright and ready for launch. After watching it be rolled out and be upright after God knows how long, I now move on to transfer the liquid oxygen into the rocket's tank Secondly, the kerosene as well into the rocket's tank as well for it to successfully leave the stationed area and successfully launch. Now, from Bay 2, I will now be moving to the communications building so I can see it launch successfully. I come back inside into communications room and I try to learn what I have to do, engaging pumps and watching it all roll up. As I did, same thing in the facility, but just a little different this time because now we are working with the rocket. And I must check all of the things within the panels to make sure that everything is good to go. The button has now been pressed, and now there is a few seconds before the rocket will be launched to who knows where. And I make my way out of the door, and I see the smoke come from the trees within, and I make my way over to see it launch from a safe distance, of course, because we are working with a rocket. And now we wait. Now, for the most exciting part, is discussing and breaking down what could possibly be going on here in Europa Station in the middle of Alaska. What possibly is going on here in this facility, why it still stands, the questionable names on the badges, and also, what connection is there to Gribbly and the person who resides here? Because there are so many questionable things going on within this facility. The rooms that I have found in Gribbly here in Alaska. Just on over to the left of the communications building, I find a bridge filled with packed snow, and I find a person right there on the edge of the bridge just looking at this poster. I come closer and I look over their shoulders. A postcard from Europa Station addressed to Gribbly. Seems that Citrus, the person who sent this postcard, wanted to meet him here, and Gribbly stares right at it. Maybe he's waiting, but the time says to meet them there at 14 military time. 14 military time equals to 2 p.m. Citrus took a visit to Gribbly's Jazz and Restaurant, where he took a little sip of his own favorite lemonade and left a postcard right below it so Gribbly can find. This is how Gribbly got all the way over here to Europa Station. Let's talk about badges that are also found to be connected to the postcard, or so I believe, because in one of the badges it says, "Long way from home. Where did the time go, gee?" And then the next one would be troubling logistics. This wasn't an easy shipment to get in, see. Almost like Gribbly and Citrus are talking to each other, and Gribbly tells Citrus that the shipment wasn't as easy to bring over here, while Citrus asks Gribbly, where did all the time go? Maybe their connection kind of faded off and got a little distant, and this was his only way to bring him over and maybe talk together once again, with the shipment being an excuse to bring him on over. Going back to the communications building, we do know that the transmitter lights up in a blue and a yellow one, and they give us some sort of Morse code that we have to decode, but there is a rare occurrence that a red light will transmit from the transmitter, and it'll give us a little portion of loud sounds, a little bit of talking, and a little bit of some, just think about as like the facility turning on, or maybe operations machinery. But I kind of want to think that this does come along with the lore of Gribbly and Citrus, because this updated version in the transmitter wasn't there when I first investigated, and was there once they officially gave us the new update. So I would like to think, considering this timeline, that it could be Citrus and Gribbly moving in the shipment. After listening to the transmitter, I did pick up words like put it over here, yes, over here, and maybe a little bit of talking that can't be really depicted. But then we also hear the Morse code. Now, I do not know what it could possibly mean, because for me, I can't really hear that properly through one ear, and secondly, I'm not a good decoder for Morse code. So if anybody knows how to do this, most certainly drop it into the comments if you ever find out. But this is just something that I thought was very, very interesting once I first came across it. So I would like to think that this could definitely be the shipment part of Citrus and Gribbly meeting up for that. You must be wondering why I left the director's office for the last segment of this video, and it is because the director's office has something to do with a little incident. Now, I would like to believe that right after doing the drop-off and setting over all the boxes from GNC Co., Gribbly and Citrus sat down and took a little bit of a drink, a little bit of wine probably, or lemonade, for Citrus is a little fan of lemonade, as it seems, though once we head over to the director's office, we find a very gruesome scene, and the clock is stuck at that hour. As we enter the director's office, we are met with a very, very gruesome scene of blood by the chair, on the floor, and on the bed, and a glass knocked over. The clock reads at 2 p.m., 14 military time, where Citrus and Gribbly are supposed to be meeting up by the postcard sent by Citrus himself. Now, I would like to think that this shipment did take a little while before this event has happened, because as we do know, there are boxes settled down in the storage room, and then they could have gone to the director's room to have a little chat and sit down and take a little drink. So for what we do know with the blood, he could have been attacked by the chair, plopped down, then kind of possibly crawled over to the bed, or he could have been standing up and then fell onto the bed, and that is where he profusely bled. And then we do know that the clock for the rest of the facility says 2:35 p.m. Now that is given 35 minutes right after the attack. The body could have been moved or maybe even buried wherever it could have been, or hidden. So Gribbly is most likely to be dead or just very gravely injured, but the postcard found in this place most likely reads what has happened. In the red little postcard, it says, "Shh, he is sleeping," and in the strangest way, somewhere someone is saying hi to you. Now, do we know whether or not this is Gribbly sleeping, as so it says in the postcard? No. But I would like to think that Citrus believes that Gribbly is now sleeping because he is, laying there wherever he is, just profusely bleeding, and his eyes are closed, and that makes you think like, oh, he's sleeping, that's just your little self of reassurance that he's just sleeping and you didn't actually attack him. Sometimes some attackers just do that sort of thing to reassure themselves. But then the postcard also reads, somewhere in the strangest way someone is saying hi to you. So maybe it's like the ghost of somebody who's already dead saying hello to you, or like, hey, I'm still here, kind of existing. So this postcard can be like definitely be read in many different ways, but I would like to think that this little card is just here as a placeholder of what happened right afterwards. So there's that. Now it is time to put in the passcode, and you can find out that the colors signify to the very beginning of this video where we find the paint buckets. Here is the living quarters of Citrus, where he most likely resides. As you can see, it is filled with a lot of things in here, but also this unsettling propaganda posters pointing at two letters, US, US. Quite unsettling. But also, we have to know that there is also a war around this time, which is presumed to be over by then by the newspapers that we find right here. Now, the newspapers aren't really that good to see within the game, so I had to do some editing alongside, but I'm going to read the very first one, and it says, Brumlow PR. And it says, Icebreaker Cold War comes to an end. So maybe this is why as to the facility is here in Alaska, because this is the place where rockets launch and, land to places. So for the war. And then the other news has the rocket of the launch, and it says new research station built on the Alaskan front. And if we remember correctly, this is built at the Alaskan front, and then it says power both in the seas and in the stars. And then we have some code, like computer code like 011000, and stuff like that. So by then the war is over, and this comes to show that the facility is no longer in use because the war is over, of course. And secondly, the rocket that we just launched, we kind of made a little mistake there, because now that thing is gonna fly to who knows where. So that's a little bit of our mistake there, but let's continue on. Also, can I just point out the glass of that Citrus drank out of is right here within the living quarters. His slice is there after he took a drink, and meaning that he didn't leave it in the director's office. He probably took his last drink here, or so I presume, and Gribbly's drink is on the floor, so that really does correlate that he was attacked, and then Citrus came back to his living quarters right after it, and who knows where he is now, but we will most likely have an answer by whenever the next update is for this game. And then I also come to find two more flags, which is just Alaska, and if I'm correct, this is the flag of Texas? Yeah, this is the flag of Texas. I'm looking at it through my screen here. So there's that. So maybe Citrus is from Texas, and he just tends to work here. And I also waited it out on the TV to see if anything switched, but it didn't, so maybe we'll see some stuff in the next update by then. And then I come over here and there is a mirror that is smashed. Now it takes about 2 times to hit that with your fist, and it looks like Citrus must have vented out some frustration or some guilt or anything right after the attack on Gribbly, and is just letting it out on the mirror. And then the mirror just says, despite everything, it is still you. So maybe this could be like a reflection that whatever you've done, it's still you, and you gotta live by it. That's what I am picking up. Now, at the very end of this bridge, we come across a door that we cannot access yet. There's a lot of things that we cannot access just yet because there is still in need of another update. And this was last updated back in February. So this video did take a good while to edit because of so much footage and so much things that I found out every single other day. So it just comes to how late this video is. But regarding that, now we leave the question as to why Citrus had the motive to do an attack on Gribbly. What did they do? Did something happen between them? Maybe some sort of jealousy or anything of the cause? Why does Citrus reside here all alone when the war is already over? Where does this rocket go fly? And also, just why is he alone here? Doesn't he have anybody to go to, or is he stuck here by chance? Because we do know that the facility can still be operational. He can talk through the communications building by any cause, probably, if that's even possible, but I am not so sure. There is some more places to this place. I even found a tunnel where it has a door, so that can also come to the next update. But regarding all this, it leaves so many questions. Like, what happens if Gribbly is actually dead, or is just to be injured? Like, who is in charge of Jazz and restaurant of Gribbly's? What happens then? And just what is going on? So that is what I assume how the lore is going within Europa Station, because we do know Europa Station and Gribbly's is connected. So my biggest question is, what goes on from here, and how long to the next update, because I'm already excited for the next one. Anyways, that is it for the Europa Station and a little walkthrough through the entire thing. I hope you all enjoyed my little breakdown of stuff like I usually do. And I know this video was very late than my presumed date, because I was going to release this by probably April or March. But with so many things that I kept finding out, like it became like all just bunched up, and I couldn't really do too much about it because it just, like, every single day I had something new discovered. So I had to stop and just wait it out a little bit to see if there was any updates. But now that it is all done, here is the entirety of the video and my take on it. Also, thank you to the Discord people that I reached out and talked about it, like New and IU. We actually found out quite a lot of things. So a lot of things I said in this video, we found it out together. So shout out to him to also come along with me on this little journey of finding out the lore and what could have possibly happened. So there's that. And also to whoever found out about the Morse code, thank you so much for that, because I absolutely suck at it. And if anybody else knows about the rest of the Morse code within the transmitter, do let me know down below in the comments. To many more myth hunting videos soon, whenever this updates and whenever there's another Gribbly update. I'm very excited about this sort of myth hunting series that I'm doing. It's just very exciting. But anyways, I leave you all with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Go follow me on Twitch and on TikTok. I do lives as much as I can every single day of the week, except when I can't. And also join my Discord if you would like some more updates on videos, or just in general chatting and knowing when I go live. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.